Good evening and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the South Florida Live podcast on this evening. I'm your host, Jeffrey Brown, and this is the day that the Lord has made, so we will rejoice and be glad in it. So come on in, join me on tonight. I hope everyone experienced peace and blessings on this evening. Good evening, my sister Laverne. God bless you. Peace and blessings. Thank you for joining us on this evening. Miranda Hardeman McCoy, God bless you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Peace and blessing. Erica Winston, God bless you. Thank you for joining us on this evening. Hey, let's do this. Let's come on in. We got something to talk about that hit me on the other day, and I'm so honored to have the doctor on tonight with us to talk about it. Listen. Go ahead, Facebook. You know what to do. Go ahead and like, share, if you will. Please, for me, would you please tag at least 10 people? Let them know that the South Florida Live podcast is on, and we are talking about navigating through the grieving process and understanding the symptoms, the signs of depression. So go ahead and do that. I got Dr. Thicklin with me tonight. Y'all don't want to miss this on tonight. We're going to have a good conversation on tonight. So go ahead and do that. Those that are viewing by YouTube, if it's your first time viewing us by YouTube, I need you to do something for me. Would you do something for me, please? Go ahead and hit the notification button. And after you hit the notification button, go ahead and hit all. Click on all. That way, whenever we go live, you always get a notification. You get notified and get a notification that we're on live. So go ahead and do that. Thank you for those that are tagging. Thank you for those that are tagging. I always like to say good evening to everyone. Good evening that's coming on. Like I tell people, I was raised that if I say good evening, you're supposed to say good evening back to me. So good evening to all those that's coming on. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the ones that holler back at me. Good evening, everyone. Come on, we're gonna do this. Yes, I am. That is Bryant Miller. I'm jamming. I'm feeling that. That's the spirit that I'm in this evening. Don't judge me. I'm feeling good this evening. I've been feeling great all day. Yes, I know people getting tired, but yes, the celebration still continues. I'm still celebrating. We'll be done pretty soon. Cynthia Richburg Roundtree, God bless you. Fran Brown, God bless you. Thank you guys for joining in. Peace and blessings to you. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead and let somebody else know we are live. I see you coming on. I'm going to give us like one minute, and then we're going to get started. I'm going to bring the doctor in. We're going to get started. Come on. Good evening, everyone. Yes, that was Byron Miller. Wow. My sister Rose March, God bless you. Thank you. Shalom to you. Peace and blessings. Silencia, God bless you. Miss Watson, God bless you. Good evening. Peace and blessings. Thank you for those that's joining us on this evening. God bless you all. 30 seconds, okay? 30 seconds. We're going to get started. I'm going to bring the doctor on. We're going to have a good conversation on today. some things that we want to talk about. We want to discuss. I need the doctor's help. I had to call the doctor because I needed his help on this, on some of the topic on this evening. So I'm glad that the good doctor was able to say yes, he will be with me this evening. So 10 seconds. All right, once again, those that are viewing Facebook, let's go ahead and tag some people. Do that for me. Tag and share. Let someone know that we're on. South Florida Live Podcast is on, and we're having a conversation. We're navigating through the process of grieving, through this process, this grieving process. This grieving process, and we're also trying to understand the signs of depression. So we're going to have this conversation today. Those that are viewing, listen. I don't often ask, but hey, if you will, our information is down. If you'd like to support this podcast in any way, form, thank you for your attendance. Thank you for joining us. But if you'd like to be a blessing and support this podcast, you can just by Zelling us at Jeffrey Brown 2094 at gmail.com. Jeffrey Brown 2094 at gmail.com. Or you can cash app us at $ Power of Glory 777. God bless you. All those that have blessed us, who've been a blessing, supported this podcast. Thank you so much. I mentioned you before. I'll continue to give you that shout out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In the near future, I got something special for those that have blessed this podcast, have been supportive to this podcast, who have partnered with this podcast. Thank you so much for that. God bless you. All right, listen, y'all. We're going to bring the good doctor on, and we're going to start this conversation because I believe, as I always do, I believe if I'm going through it, or I'm sure there's others, and sometimes we need answers how to get through some of our trials and tribulations. But we're gonna really dabble into the grieving on this evening. We're really gonna dabble into the grieving. We're gonna really discuss and talk about that grieving process. But it's gonna be something. Y'all just stay tuned. Stay tuned. It's gonna happen. Don't go nowhere because my brother is here with us. God bless you, man. Man of God, the doctor, the great man that's doing great things everywhere he's going, in every area of his aspect, he is touching lives and making a difference in people's lives. God bless you, my brother, Dr. Thicklin. God bless you. Thank you, man, for joining me once again. I know it's last notice, but thank you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much, man. And good evening to you.
And good evening to you, my brother. It's so good to be back with you. And I just want to say, listen, it might be last minute in notion, but it's a priority with you. And because it's a priority with you, if I can make any time to be with you, there I am, because it's important. I just want to say to you, you're doing an incredible job.
Thank you.
The fact that you take this so seriously, you make it a priority. And I do believe, because even from comments I've heard from people who I've met personally, who said, I caught that episode, I'm catching him now. This is such a timely manner because everyone will deal with grief, loss at some period of time in their life. And I'm telling you, you're on the right place. You're at the right time. And so listen, no apologies there. And I just want to say again, although I know I did it on Facebook, happy birthday to you, man. The whole month belongs to you, the whole year. You're doing something wonderful, brother. And I'll tell you this. I'm especially honored to be with you for this reason here. And I said this before. It's the degree of vulnerability and transparency it takes to be able to admit these things, to talk about these things. And it is an added bonus that you and I, in this case, as men, are willing to have open conversation about these things, because too often we've learned to stuff our emotions or avoid our emotions or not deal with my emotions in a healthy way. So thank you for having me
Yeah.
back on with you.
Man, it's my honor once again. Yeah, it's my honor. I know, we've always said, we've said every time we're together that we have to be transparent. And I try and be as transparent as possible. But I also know, I'm that guy who likes to encourage others and try and help others. If I went through it, if I'm going through it, I'm sure there's others that's also going through it. So, man, listen. I sure enough appreciate you. Yes, and I got 6 more days of this celebration to go. I know
Absolutely.
some folks getting tired, but I don't care. Listen, I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so thankful to have this opportunity. I'm so thankful to be alive, man. So
Absolutely.
I told myself, and I told the Lord, I'm just going to enjoy myself. I'm going from now on, I'm enjoying life with or without anyone. So, man, thank you so much. But yeah, we have to be transparent in what we do and just let it out and try and find help. That's the thing. Trying to going to seek help and getting help. But this brother, this hit me on the other day, but it hit me a while ago. And but it really hit me on yesterday when one of my sisters from my church, she said it, and I knew of it, it really rocked me on yesterday. And I said, oh my God, I have to talk about this. I say, if the doctor is available, I really need to have him come on and we talk about this. One of my members, one of my sisters at my church, man, she's a staffer at the church. And most may know her, Elder Marietta Friedman. Listen, she said something on Sunday that really like punched me right in the stomach. Whereas for the last month or so, she has been dealing with multiple deaths in her family. She has had a death after a death. She has had 10 deaths in her family back to back. 10.
Wow.
10. I mean, one this week, two next week, then you got another one probably a week after. And I mean, just 10 deaths in her family. And I felt kind of some way because I know I've said, sister, I'm praying for you, got you covered, trying to be some, and that. But I'm like, I thought about it, Doc. I'm like, really? What can I say to her? I mean, I've had some multiple deaths. We talked about it. My dad in 2014, my brother in 2017, then my mom now in 2022. But 10 back to back,
Yeah.
that's heavy. So somebody like that, I know we said we have to do stuff. We'll be here for them. But what is it that she can do? I'm sure I don't know if she's seeking counsel or whatever, but I was thinking about the ones that surround her. Doc, please help us to be able to
Yeah.
help her.
That is always a tough one. Grieving one person is tough, but because the proximity of the person also makes a difference in how a person grieves. But dealing multiple deaths back to back to back can be very, very overwhelming inside of that. And the thing about it is that I'm so glad to hear you say this, because sometimes we do feel helpless. We feel helpless. We don't know what to say to someone. We don't know what should we say to somebody. What is it that we can do? And so I want to first of all start off by saying, feeling that way is normal. Feeling that way is normal because no one really writes us a real textbook on how should we be there to help someone through their grieving process. And even if someone did write the book, we would have to write the book situationally, because every situation sometimes is different. But there are some basic standard things that we have to understand that we can do when someone is grieving and going through the grieving process. And number one is be present. And be present, once again, be present. It's not always physical. Sometimes you're not able to be there physically, but you can be there presently through your communication, whether that communication is a phone call, whether that communication is an email, whether that communication is a card, whether that communication is flowers, whether that communication is sending them something that will be of substance, whether that communication is money. whether that communication, if you would, even a text, but you let them know that you're there for them. Even in those things, sometimes depends on your relationship with that person, it still might not feel like it's enough.
Right.
So the first thing you got to do is relieve yourself of feeling guilt, because the fact, you want to do more, you feel like, man, God, I wish I could do more. And the more you can do, and let's not discount, listen, praying for that person, gathering others that may know that person, come together collectively praying for that person is good. Being able to provide a safe space for that person so that they feel safe if they want to talk about anything. Now, immediately people might not want to talk, but
Right.
the fact that we offer that, you see what I'm saying? Because sometimes we say, well, I'm here if you need anything. That's such a broad statement, and we mean it sometimes, but it's but we have to say, sometimes I like to say, listen, for real, if there's anything I can do,
Right.
I'm here. Or sometimes you go a little bit more direct and say, is there anything that you can think of right now that I could do, be there for you? Can I relieve you of anything? And and that makes a lot, because think about it. When a person loses someone, the whole function of their life, the routine of their life is interrupted. Right. It's interrupted, whether it's for a short period of time or a longer period of time. It does. And so we have to recognize, how can I be there for them? In what way? And yet to see a balance that we don't feel inadequate in what we're doing to be able to do so. So that's the first thing I would say. Definitely provide open communication, open communication for a place for them to be able to talk, a place to just be able to express themselves. Now, here's the key part about that. If you're going to allow a space for a person to just be themselves and express, then you need to be able to do that without judgment. That's not your time to judge them. That's not your time to keep a scorecard. It's not your time to defend what they feel or not feel. It's not that time to do so in terms of that, right? So you have to allow them that space, even if what they're saying that may seem wrong to you or fundamentally wrong, you still have to allow them that space to do so, right? Because that's important. That's not the time there to try to prove who's right, who's wrong. That might not even be the time there to try to, defend somebody's death. Right. And so we have to be very careful inside of that, based upon the nature of the death and the nature of the individual that is there. So that is so important to keep that in mind inside of dealing with that.
Right. Now, Doc, I know we probably can't, but is it any way? Because I know a lot of times I try and put myself in that person's place and try to have just not a feeling, but also an understanding of maybe what they are going through in that point. Is it possible for us to put ourselves in that place, even if we have not experienced multiple deaths like that, 10 back to back? Is it some way, being that we probably experienced one or two deaths, is there any way to, what I want to say, like upgrade or amplify our feelings to try and even have an idea what she's feeling?
Well, see, that's an interesting question, because what you're really talking about is the way you feel. And it's all right. What you're trying to say is that you want to be empathetic. You want to have an empathy toward what they're going through. But keep in mind, being empathy is feeling with the person, right? You're feeling with them. Even in feeling with them, it doesn't mean that you have to express, I know what you're going through. Right. Because depending on the situation, that could become offensive to someone. Like, you don't know what I'm going through. You ain't never lost 10 people to the road. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So the fact of the matter, I think a better choice of phrase is that my heart and my prayers are with you. I cannot even imagine what you're going through, but I'm here for you. You understand? That's important. But I want to commend the first thing. I think it's a good thing to do is to try to put yourself in that spirit. You know what I'm saying? Try to empathize with, where this person is going through. Could you imagine you were a supervisor on the job and you had a person that worked for you that went through this? You got your supervisory responsibilities, but you also have to have some humanity inside of that. You understand what I'm saying? The humanity inside of that is this. Hold it. I understand this person may be responsible for this report, that report, and all those things there. But brother, sister, that's not the time to be demanding. Well, I understand. I'm sorry that you lost somebody, but no.
Right.
You got to go into the human part of it, because let me say something to you. Everybody know that person that you supervisor can fall dead today or tomorrow, and you guys will go right on, right inside of that. And so we have to be mindful of those things inside of how we are going to deal with that. Multiple deaths can also mean that a person may be grieving longer. And not only just grieving and longer, sometimes we look for people to grieve in different ways. Sometimes we look to see, oh, do they look depressed, or do they look real sad? And that sometimes also is a misnomer, because folks say, well, look like they taking it real good to me.
Good.
Look
Right.
Look like what?
Right.
They so
she all right.
Yeah, she all right. But don't be deceived by that. They might not necessarily be all right. They are coping. Exactly. They are coping the best way they know how. You only see what you see. Everybody might not show those outward signs immediately. Those outward signs sometimes are seen by people who may be, it's a lot easier. For instance, for a person who's very talkative, then all of a sudden you don't hear them talking much, or they're not very engaging, those things, then you immediately know, hey, something is going on. But what happens to that person who hardly ever talks anyway?
Right.
It's hard to decipher that, because that's not the way they engage. So the main thing you can do is provide reassurance where you can, reassurance, reassurance of hey, of your care and support of them, reassurance. And then go right ahead.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry, Doc. I'm glad you said that, because this individual is a very outspoken, very spoken. She's very talkative. She's very expressive. She does poetry. Very, and I have not seen her once in a state where she was like back, didn't say much, and like her like this past Sunday, her energy was her normal energy to me. But I'm like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like you just said, I'm sitting there like, wow. She's 10 family members back to back, and she's still energetic and just like herself. But can we take for granted that she is herself?
That's a real good question, because see, that's why it's so important for people that are around those individuals, who knows those individuals, to really be attentive. Remember, we talked about it scripturally. Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And we often say, we understand who is they who are mourning, but who are those that comfort? We tend to think that the comfort, well, it's just going to come supernaturally from the Lord. No, God uses people. You see what I'm saying? And so God uses people. So when we're attentive to those that grieving, we're attentive to it in the sense of the fact of simply being there. Sometimes it's a risk to ask questions, stuff like, so how are you holding up? But yet it's still, sometimes it may be appropriate. Are you okay?
Right.
Is there anything that I can help you with? And the reason why that's important is because of the fact, like describing your friend there, your member there, one of the things that is interesting is that for all of us to get through grieving sometime, one of the biggest things is that we try to maintain routine, right? We'll try to maintain routine, because routine help us get through. In other words, routine help us keep that normalcy in our lives. And keep in mind that the person who grieving might be trying to deal with their grief through trying to keep the routine of who they are. Problem is guess what? Life will slow down, because anytime you take a person out of the equation, that's what death is. When we lose someone, that spot is gone. That place at the dinner table is gone. That place on the job is gone. That place in the school is gone. There's not an invisible chair there. That person is not there. And so it might not always hit us every day. It might not hit us right now, but it will hit us.
Yeah.
And we'll get through.
And that's what I was just with to say. Is it possible that, okay, we're trying to go through we're just trying to keep our normal routine to get through it. But is it possible us trying to go our normal routine where it end up where we never take the time to grieve? Don't you have?
I got what you're saying. So that's that thin line between trying to go through the normal routine and possibly avoidance at the same time.
Right.
And the thing about it, we may find ourselves grieving in unhealthy ways. We could find ourselves going through our own type of depression. We just like we see people that are functioning addicts, we could have people that are functioning depressive. Every depression is not a manic depression, or should I say a depression that is so chronic that it changes everything about it. But we can find ourselves eating more. We can find ourselves, indulging in more things. And that is we're really depressed, but we're grieving through that depression. And that part is happening with us, and we may not even recognize it. Now, listen, think about that. A person eating more and more, are we paying attention to those things? Are we paying attention to things that they normally do, or things that this is abnormal? No, because we're looking at the fact they're still functioning. They're still functioning. I think I shared once with you all, although I did not lose 10 family members back to back, but from the period of 2011 to the period of 2015, it was very, very painful for us. 2011, my father passed on my birthday, so I dealt with that for years. 2013, my sister passed unexpectedly, my oldest sister, February 28th. A few months later, July 5th, my mother passed, same year. Then the very next year, 2013, my brother-in-law passed. Matter of fact, the anniversary of his death is actually tomorrow, okay? And then 2 months later, my nephew, Young, passed, okay? And then 2015, my oldest brother passed. Now, here's the thing about it. Those are 6 individuals. I eulogized every one of them.
Right.
And so in my own capacity, the problem I discovered later on is I never grieved them.
Never grieved.
Because I took on this role that I've got to be the spiritual leader. I've got to do those things there. And it was much later afterward that I began to recognize in my own life that, man, you got unaddressed trauma, you got unresolved grief. You really never grieved them. And this is when I understood something. There is something about sitting in that audience, on that front row or that second row. Mm-hmm. I was never in a position where I was being poured into, or that I was given that, because I was doing the pouring. Right. So I discovered my own emptiness through my actions, through my inaction. Right. Even through things like finding myself being a clutter gutter, things that get so cluttered around me. So we discover these things. And then if we do, it's still not too late to get counseling. It's not too late to get support. And that's what I want people to understand, because sometimes people feel this way. You think about it. People will flood and be there for you when you're going through the funeral. And all the folks will be there. Yes, they will. Yes. Man, once that ceremony is over, sometimes you don't hear from individuals again until there's another death. Wow. And we have to understand that the how do I put it? The funeral is actually for mourning, public mourning. You mourn with them. The grieving process is going on continuously. Right. And that's going on. And so we have to be able to do that. So how can we be better friends? How can we be better people? And that's what you're really asking. It's the fact of still having our presence known. Sometimes, it's the anniversary or the month anniversary of that person passing, with that person, find out what is it, because some people have become very creative in their grieving. They can journal. You talk about her with poetry. She might find a way to write about it through it, but only in her time. Some people may journal. Some people may decide to do memorials. I see balloon releases have become very popular. And this is what I say about whatever you see. What might be good for one family member, one set of family, may not necessarily be necessarily the same impact for another person. But say, for instance, the persons we grieving, had a hobby or something that they were very passionate about, something that they found dear. There was a cause that they was very passionate about. We can find ourselves plugging into those things, and what ways can we do those things, and what way can we support those things? And that's one reason I tell people our death should not be the end. No. Regardless of how we die, we ought to be able to find a way to be able to continue to live, even through our loved ones. We call it let the legacy live. I will remember the message, the same 2 messages I did from my dad and my mom was a life lived, a legacy left. Yes, right. And we have to continue to perpetuate that, because I'll say this to you. our loved ones will always live through us, and they ain't no psychedelic, creepy stuff. That's
Yeah,
just the truth
that's
of the
just
matter,
true for them. Mhm.
And so we find our way to navigate in that manner.
All right. One of our sister, Betty Webster, she
That's
said
my
this, and
classmate.
yeah, she said that. But she put in the comments that she wanted to be alone with God to try to get some understanding.
Yeah.
I know that's where we can go. But is it can we is it more than that we can do more? I know we want to seek God and find out his understanding why, what, a lot of asking the questions, but what else could we do um along with that?
Well, let's start with that. Okay. So remember, we're talking about a grieving process, right? So a process is not just one step. A
Right.
process is procedurally. For I can understand what she's saying. For some people, when death happened, especially the nature of the death, maybe the person passed unexpectedly. Maybe you just don't understand. It might be in the strength of the individual that's grieving to get along with God, if that's their spiritual, if that is their spiritual means, if that's their means of dealing with, so that they can get an understanding where they can find that place, that center of peace and that center of comfort. Because sometimes we're not even able to receive, even from others, when we have not found that center of peace ourselves. So starting at that place with God and being alone with him is a good place to start, right? Okay. It's a good place to start, and we need to keep that in mind. So what I will say is this: going from that point. Hold on, y'all. Excuse me. My Alexa goes off at this time. I forgot. Alexa, end. Okay. Well, I tell you,
He's on
well, only
schedule.
people are so
He's on
obedient. No,
schedule.
I'm just teasing. I forgot where I'm set up tonight. My Alexa goes off at this time, giving me the news. But anyway, the part I want to say is this: you can start right there, but then it may lead to other things. It doesn't mean that it start and finish there. It means that that's the part that centers you. So you're centered there. But then after you're centered there, what's those other processes? It could be a lot of other things to deal with it. Family member, who's close around you, those that can talk to you, those that you may even want to write a letter. People say, why would you write a letter? No. Writing is so therapeutic. Sometimes getting the feelings out, talking is very important inside of this. So that's a good place to start, Betty. Definitely.
Right. Now, yeah, and we see it. Someone put in here also in the comments that we see it a lot of times where people go to Facebook and social media
Okay.
after a passing, and sometimes they are, they're posting seems, some sad stuff and some things that, similar, but then some things aren't a part of the passing or the individual or whatever. How crucial is that to be careful of putting, with the posting on
Mm.
Facebook?
Well, listen, I'm going to say this to you because, listen, I'm not exactly sure if the book has come out on that one yet, but here's the thing I have observed. You got to understand, this way to grieve openly and on social media is still a fairly new phenom.
Yeah.
We've been given these liberties to be able to express. So here's the thing about it. Some people grieve very openly on Facebook. They really do. They pour it out, and maybe every day or 5 or 7 times a day they're talking about their loved one who has passed. And for them, they're getting it out. Maybe they want to share it with people. They want to share it. They want everyone to kind of feel what they're feeling and understanding what they're going through, because they're seeking that. They're seeking to be heard and understood inside of that. But what I think the person who wrote this might be saying is that, when does it then start turning to other things, and it start turning to things that's not dealing with the grieving? And I'll be quite honest with you, a lot of time that could be the result of other things, unresolved things within that individual. And that individual really might still need help. And they still do need help. Just because we grieve openly on social media doesn't mean I got through it. I'm yet to read the testimony from anyone that's saying stuff like, boy, thank you all so much for social media, for y'all helping me get through this. Perhaps, through people, Perhaps, people that are responding saying, my condolences, my prayers are with you. We all love hearing those things. We like hearing the comfort. We love the fact that someone would stop in the middle of their life to acknowledge what I'm going through in my life. That's one of the reasons we like response. That's one reason we like replies, However, have I seen it go off the rail? I have. I've seen it go off the rail, but even with that, I don't have a right to tell them, man, come on now, find another mean. But I would say someone that's close enough to them,
Oh, okay.
Might be able to say, okay, okay, so we've done that. What's our next step? We need therapy. We need some counseling. We need some group counseling. Sometimes we need group counseling. One of the things I am really proposing, and well, maybe I won't put that out there because we miss it. It's the fact I think there's a responsibility also on the part of the funeral home. I'll put it this way: their goal can't be just to get the folks to the funeral. Can't be just to lower the body in the ground or put it up there.
It's after.
We need to offer. Let's partner with therapists and grief counselors and different ones like that, and listen, folks. Package. This is part to get me, y'all. Please pardon me on this one. I'll watch people. Now, one thing about Black people, and I'm going to put it that Black people, we take death seriously. We do. I probably more than almost any group. The way that we treat our dead is a statement to us the way we go out. Here's my problem, though. Sometimes we don't think of the aftermath inside of it. I've seen it in the capacity of a minister pastor. I've seen the other part of it. People come, we trying to raise money to bury them and stuff like that. That's a whole different story, insurance and all that. But what happens then when the funeral comes? Now you got horse and carriage, you got all the stuff like that, and yet it's still you're saying, we had no money to bury them. Here's the problem. And not that it's a problem doing that. Who puts anything toward grieving, counseling afterwards? And so I bring the funeral home in because of the fact those relationships ought to be there. Just like when you go to plan a funeral, the funeral director, they come in, they give you these whole packages. You pick out this and that, and you can have a la carte. Why anybody picking out packages that says 8 sessions of counseling, 12 sessions of counseling, post-counseling, and that is paid for within the insurance or whatever way you pay, just like you did everything else. It's because of the fact we have to understand, where do we prioritize? There's an empty spot here. The thing is, check this out. If you ever had a loved one to pass and they went through hospice, at least the hospices I've dealt with, it's amazing what hospice will do. Hospice will check on you. Hospice will even remind you the anniversary of the death. Hospice will say to you, this is open to you. We're offering counseling to you. They're doing so because they understand that just because you've laid that person to rest doesn't mean that you're at rest.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, Doc, because there's a young lady who reached out to me from watching us one night and that works with the funeral home. That's what she does. And she said because of our episodes and us talking about the grieving, it brought a light onto her to do more for the families afterwards.
Exactly.
To do more when this comes to their grieving, help them continue to the process of them going through the grieving time. Just not once they bury them and they gone and they done send them on the way. She is literally she's working on creating if not a business, but something at that funeral home through her where it's a continuation for those that's grieving. So once again, because of you and Dr. And Chaplain Brown, you guys are bringing spotlights and opening up knowledge to those that's out there that's been watching. So I just wanted to mention that we had one that what you just said, the funeral home should go further. It's more to what they're doing now. If that's one, we have many funeral homes.
Yeah.
So just think if the other ones catch on to that, and like you said, it probably would be a great counseling thing, great situation for those that's going through their time of grief. Now, leading to that, we have one of our viewers, and they made this comment. They said, is it safe to get counseling from your own leader, or should they go to someone outside that they don't know?
You know, I was just reading that because I finally pulled up comments and stuff. Real good question. Now, here's the thing
Yeah.
about it, man. Oh God, that
Woo. Come
there's a
on,
brother
Doc.
who said that
Come
there's
on,
a
Doc.
brother who has a thing that he said church folk will get mad at me, but
Yeah, that's
but
okay.
so
Tell the truth.
here's the thing about it. You have to gauge it. You have to gauge it. You really have to gauge it. Watch this. I want to be careful because I don't want to make it sound negative. You have to know your leader. You have to know what is the proximity and relationship with your leader. And I say that because of the fact sometimes we can be a part of a very large ministry, and we have to understand there's a key word there, and it's called leaders. Leaders, meaning the fact that the senior pastor, you may or may not be as close with them, but if they have people that are delegated, that are in the proper spots over these things here, you have to gauge, how do I deal with them? Can I deal with them? Are they knowledgeable enough for me to deal with? Are they too close to the situation or not? You see what I'm saying? They may not be. And sometimes when I say they're knowledgeable, and please understand this, we all have different levels of experience, trust, education, or whatever. Sometimes experience is amazing. Lived experience. Lived experience is a great part of who I am, of what I've done over the last 40 years of ministry, right? However, there are certain situations I know that I'm like any other good doctor. I may be doing a general practice, but I understand this is beyond me. Let me refer you to Dr. So-and-so. Let me refer you, because I understand that they're able to do so. Right. So to answer your question there, is it safe? Only you can determine, is it safe, because the fact of your proximity and going to them. However, you might feel more comfortable or secure in talking to someone that might not know you, if it's just dealing with the grieving process itself and what am I experiencing, and maybe I feel a lot more relaxed in sharing these things with this individual because I don't have to fear judgment, right? Sometimes we're hesitant when we feel like, sometimes when people know a lot about us, they oftentimes it can blur the lines inside of them being straightforward. But by the same token, depending on the individual, it could be that place of comfort, like say, well, he knows us, he knows our family, or she knows our family. It's a case by case basis.
Right.
I will say there's no danger that I see in going to a person who may not be necessarily your leader in terms of that. Now, having said that, go back to your relationship with your church, with your leaders, because we got all type of leadership styles. I see people that are leaders, they simply get offended that their parishioners would go to anybody else, as if there's enough here to take care of that, but you might not feel that at the time.
Right.
And that's really your prerogative. I don't get into that type of what I call, you belong to me, you shouldn't go anywhere else. No. Let me say something to you. As a matter of fact, I'm more the one that will say, I'll refer you to some people. Right. I refer people to people all the time. There are people, friends of mine, that this is what they do. They are really grief counselors. Let me say something to you. Right. They're bad. Right. When I say there's things that I don't even think of, okay, I see. I've had people to grief counsel a whole church because the church lost a leader. That's important, especially the proximity of the church. Everybody is dealing with the loss of it. And so there's different reasons. But what I will say to you, and for that comment, I appreciate that, because of the fact it makes me aware that you're cognizant of the fact that, this may not be the time to go to them, or maybe it is. Can they provide the counseling? And that's the other thing, because what we'll do sometimes is we know that Pastor so-and-so or this person is really busy. And what I may need from them may not necessarily fit into their schedule. Mm-hmm. So rather than me to find myself disappointed because I'm not able to get what I need, I might have to seek outside and just kind of inform them that, hey, listen, we are going through group counseling, or I'm going through individual counseling, and because I need this. And that's a powerful thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, listen. So now we know we're talking. I brought that about the my member with the 10 different, different members and within the couple of month time, losing those. But what if there are children involved? What if there are kids that was there in the midst of some of these death that was going on? Other words, some of them could have been a parent. I'm not sure. A father or a mother leaving a child. What can we say to our children that are experiencing these deaths, and how do we help them to cope? What do we say to them, and what are the path and the directions for those children? Because sometimes kids deal with death a little different than the grown folks. So what can we say to them?
Okay, so let me start there because developmental level is so important, and you're so right about that. Um, it is so heavy on a child to deal with loss. First of all, they don't have the life maturity, the capacity to deal with it. It depends on how that person left here. And once again, the proximity of that, it becomes even more difficult. So one of the things that we talk about is also providing that open communication with the child, depending on their level. Don't promise a child anything that you can't deliver. Don't promise them things in the abstract. The one thing that I always say that you have to start with is reassuring a child that they are loved, that they're still loved and they're supported at this time. We're here for you. Let them know, give them that free market. Let them know it's okay to be sad. Yeah, it's okay to be sad. Not only is it okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry. Provide that reassurance that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry. Let them know that not only is it okay to be sad and angry, but also let them know it's okay that you understand that they may feel confused, or any other emotions that they may be experiencing. So you want to provide that reassurance so that they don't think they're in some alien island. What's wrong with me? No, it's okay. They feel that way. Give them that point. Once again, that safe space to talk about it. Here's the case that you do want to, however, try to maintain as much normalcy or routine that you can with them. And that may be difficult because of the fact, what if they did everything with that parent, that mother, that father, and those things? That's the difficult part. Filling in the blank, providing that guidance, reassuring them. Sometimes we say things like, what is it? So what is it that you love doing with your mom, or what you love doing with your dad, and everything like that, and saying, would you like to do that now? And they may say, no, absolutely not. That's perfectly okay.
Right.
Remember, this is not a science necessarily, because the fact you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with those things there. But you want the kids, you want to encourage the kids to express their grief, encourage them to express it. One of the things that we do culturally that I don't think is that we don't mean any harm, but we do much harm. We can't go around telling kids, you got to be strong. You got to be strong for your mom. You got to be strong for your little brother, because we're assuming that they understand what the definition of strong is.
Right.
And so we tend to use the word strong as if strong is the absence of weakness.
Right.
And we treat weakness as if it's some type of disease or something to be ashamed of. No. Right. Even the scripture says, in your weakness is his strength made perfect.
Right.
Because we know that we're going to get weak. Listen, as boisterous as we may sound, as reassuring as we may sound, man, when things hit us, we hurt.
Right.
We weep.
Right.
We mourn. Mm-hmm. And that is why we hope that people, I have a thing to say, check on your strong friends. Check on them every now and then. Because sometimes people expect you to be strong all the time, and you're not always strong all the time. With a child, you got to understand, you want to encourage them to express their grief. You want to encourage them out of that in ways to feel comfortable to them. It could be talking about their feelings. It could be them drawing. It could be them writing in a journal. It could be them engaging in creative activity. But don't ever eliminate the possibility of seeking professional help. Mm-hmm. Seeking professional help does not, and here's a phrase I want to use. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with them. We use that term too out of place. Well, something wrong with them. No. They simply need some help. They need some assistance. They're dealing with some things that they need support inside of it.
Right.
And so don't make it, watch this, don't make it a right or wrong. Don't make it a strong or weakness. We
Right.
can't make them feel like, oh God, it's a shame to be weak.
Right.
No.
Right. And that was going to be my question to you. Is it a safe place? Is it okay when it comes down to where, as a parent or as a family member, it's not working, but for to seek counseling for those the children, seek counseling for a child that may, it's just not, they're not, just it's hard. It's been um um 3 years, 4 years, and they don't want to go to school. They're not eating right. Their appetite is different. They've gotten closed. They closed themselves to just being in the room. Just don't socialize anymore. Is that a time where we as adults need to really pay attention to some of the signs of of them grieving, whereas it may even push them into depression?
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head. And that's the whole thing about it, is being observation. Are we observing? Are we watching them? And sometimes we have to strongly encourage, listen, I know this is tough what you're going through. It's tough on all of us. But listen, we want to get through this. I want to get us some help to help us process this. These times are difficult for all of us. Right. And so we're going to get some help that really specialize in being able to get us through this. And guess what? Notice a term I keep using, we. Even when it comes to parenting, and I don't mean to get on my parenting soapbox, one of the things that happen is that we set rules, but the kid is made to feel that they're the only ones that have to follow the rules, right? So no. So what we have to do, we use terms like we. When I want to say, no, that's not what we do here, or we are going through this, so we are getting help. It makes them feel inclusive. It is not singling them out as if they're the only ones that are dealing with it. So the we language is important, that we may get help and we can go through this and we can monitor and see each other progress. And I so appreciate that, in terms of that. And I was looking at comments still from Pat, she said, listen, it's been a while, but I've been grieving I've been grieving my brother. I've been grieving my mom, my father. I've been grieving these people. And I don't care how long it's been. Understand this. It's okay.
It's okay
to get help. It's still, even at this point, what is happening even with this show here that you're doing, Jeff, is that it is providing an outlet. It is. It's a point of identification for many. We deal with the fact, am I the only one that feels this way? Sometimes we feel like we're holding a secret inside, but nobody knows what I'm going through. But nobody knows that I'm still dealing with that. No one knows that I still wrestle with that. No, we know. And there's a whole army of people that actually can identify with you. But what I want to say to you is this: you sometimes can find counseling, free counseling in some cases, through different organizations in your community. You can Google it and see who offers it. Now, I admit that sometimes culturally we need someone who can be culturally competent and culturally relevant to us. And we exist, we do exist. And so whatever you have to do so, but don't look at it as if something is wrong with you. Understand the fact that I'm going through this grieving process. Okay. I'm going through and I need help. We use the term sometimes, well, something are off. Meaning what you're really saying is something is abnormal. This is abnormal. Right. But I want you to know that your abnormal feeling that you're feeling, oftentimes it's a normal part of grieving.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Listen, Doc, thank you, man. Wow, we're out. Listen, we're not, it's more, y'all. We just have to stop because I don't like to edit a whole lot. Take it away. Hey, but listen, please tune in, Doc, next Monday. Please, would you find your schedule? Let me know.
I will look at my schedule. I'll let you know before,
because we need to continue this one.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah, we need to continue this one. Hey, listen, y'all. Yes, part 2, Ms. Oliver, you're right. It's going to be Monday if Doc is available. Yes. Next Monday. Hey, listen, once again, thank you guys for joining us on this South Florida Live podcast. We are dealing with navigating through the process of grieving, the grieving process. That's what we're doing. I know some people out there, I saw it in the comments, that's dealing with it. And we just want to open up. We just want to shed the light and bring knowledge and bring help and bring hope to those that are going through that. I always say, I know I'm not the only one, so I just like to be helpful to others. Doc, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
For having us.
Blessings upon you always. Man, you're my brother. I truly appreciate you. So everyone, the doc was here. Prayerfully, y'all, the doc gonna be back on Monday. Y'all put it in the comments. Say, Doc, be back on Monday. I'm putting you out there, Doc. I'm putting you out there. Put it in the comments. Dr. Bigley, you're coming back on Monday. Because we're going to finish this. We need to finish
Absolutely.
this. We really
have to.
We got to finish this. This was on my heart, and I wanted to just bring it out. So, Doc, thank you, man. Appreciate you once again for joining me, my brother. Hey, listen, this is the South Florida Live podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Brown. Hey, listen, it's been great. It's been real. It's been a great opportunity. I hope someone learned something. I hope someone it was helped tonight. You received something that you can take and move on and help you with someone, loved one that you know that's going through this. So God bless you. God keep you. Once again, if you want to be a support to this podcast, the Zelle is jeffreyBrown2094@gmail.com. And also you can cash app us $Power of Glory 777. As I always say, I'll pray for you. You pray for me. Hey, y'all, let's watch God change things. God bless you.
Email your idea for show topics to the South Florida Live Show @gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in to South Florida Live with your host, Jeffrey Brown.